What's up, everybody? It's Taylor Twellman from Major League Soccer and Apple TV. Matchday 10 now gives us some real insight into what we are going to get from teams. Like, who are the contenders? Vancouver Whitecaps. Who are the pretenders? Dare I say Atlanta United? Either way, the more we see teams play, the more we see the separation of the better teams, even in a league of parity like MLS. Also, it's a week filled with excitement. Extra time goals, salvaging points. Angulo in Montreal to help Orlando City. Denis Bouanga at home with a penalty against a really good New York Red Bulls team. And then the first goal of his MLS career. Thomas Twellman in the dying minutes of what has been a ridiculous start to the rivalry in Missouri, which is where we start with Twellman's takes. 6 games, 26 goals. That's an absurd ratio to kick off a rivalry. And yet, because Zlatan and Vela and other big names aren't on the field, I think we're doing a disservice to this madness. The cities, St. Louis, Kansas City. The states, Kansas, Missouri. The people, it's ingrained in sports. Jayhawks versus Tigers, Royals versus Cardinals, and now Sporting versus City. Just look in the stands of Saturday's game. The blue and the red, they're mixed in all over the stadium. The secondary ticket market is absurd, where now the opposing fan is influencing that market. This weekend, just another example of what these two bring. Great team goal from Sporting Kansas City to kick it off. Polito with the finish. City then just bully their way to a lead with a golazo from Pompeo. Then Roman Berkey gives up the weirdest goal I've ever seen. And then the equalizer in stoppage time to salvage a point. It's an absolute privilege to see this rivalry in person. And it's actually outdone my expectation level, which is a little remarkable considering how I can be a little bit overdramatic at times. Speaking of, a couple weeks ago, I was on This Is MLS, and I stated why I thought Arango is the MVP at this point. And I know all of you were expecting me to say Messi or Suarez since I'm contractually obligated to. I'm just kidding, I'm not. But still, tell me I'm wrong with this take. 15 goals have been scored by Real Salt Lake. Arango, he's contributed to 14 of those. 8 goals, 6 assists. At LAFC, he was a pure goal scorer, a finisher, the guy they could rely on when they just needed a goal. He had 30 goals in 2 seasons, but also someone who is criticized in-house that he actually could do more. Well, in Salt Lake, they want him to be more. A leader both on and off the field with the emotions, while also being a little bit more complete, which is what I've seen in 2024. He has more assists this year in 9 starts versus any other year in Major League Soccer. He's been that and then some for Salt Lake City and Pablo Mastroeni, and they love it. Make no mistake about it, it's only 9 games in. But if you want to convince me otherwise, that there's been a more valuable player than him, go ahead. I'm not listening. So I'm going to give you 4 teams, and you tell me in the comments section who's been the biggest disappointment 9 games into the season. San Jose Earthquakes, the worst team in the league. Only 3 points in 9 games, having given up 24 goals. But is it really that surprising with the lack of ambition and quality of signings from the front office? The New England Revolution, where Caleb Porter, 4 points in 8 games, is the second worst start in league history for a new manager. I'd be shocked if they don't try to make a move or 2 or 3 within the league to get some fresh blood in there and to make sure that group of players is accountable. Nashville, who like San Jose, didn't make any real notable moves in the offseason, and quite frankly, since the Leagues Cup final last year, Hani Mukhtar and company haven't looked the same. It's been bland, boring, and brutal for the Nashville supporters. Seattle Sounders, who were my favorites to win the Western Conference. They can't score a goal to save their lives. 9 goals in 8 games, and 4 of those were in 1 game. Raul Ruidiaz, Jordan Morris, and company aren't scaring anybody right now, and that's a problem. Speaking of problems, it's amazing to me how Inter Miami continuously get an injury or 2 every week that brings into question, how are they going to survive? Redondo, Taylor, Campana, Alba, now Gomez have all been injured the last month, and all 5 are starter quality. Yet, they've only lost 1 of their last 5 games. They have to continue this run before the summer schedule comes along, where the international competitions will ask questions of a roster that is already slim due to injuries. They travel this weekend to New England, where Saturday night there will be a record crowd at Gillette Stadium to see Messi and company take on the distraught New England Revolution, who are desperate for a win. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. And speaking of the Rebs, this week on Offside, I look back at two of the greatest comebacks in MLS history to make the playoffs. 2016 Seattle Sounders and last year's 2023 Sporting Kansas City. You can catch that on Apple Podcast.